A decision cannot be made going forward because of miscommunication, the misuses of misunderstandings, and too many pauses trying to work out how everyone feels. When inexperience in handling an issue is met with a "let's wait and see" attitude, this is generally what you get. It's a lack of leadership, abuse, and dominance plays out in a terrible way. Now, the suffering are at bay and crying for help without a leader to lead them. There is a lot of blame shifting that has been happening instead of just making a call, making a decision, and going for it. If someone played around with a Google search for too long trying to make heads or tail from a situation and what to do, they waited too long. Someone could have collapsed here and gotten hurt. There is a King of Swords who comes in with a final report that is giving a timeline of where the first hurdle of a complication was not even handled. Options were given, procedures were given, guidance was given, and even the door left open to get to the Emperor to ask for assistance if needed. Yet this person did not take any of those options. They just stood still, stuck their head in the sand, kept a storyline spinning, watching the tower card hit, destroying one thing after another, while the few people trying to fix the problem remained at the first stage of trying to get this thing up off the drawing board. This King of Swords had been standing up high on the turret of a tower, watching a Six of Cups person, and when they gave their report, it does explain that a primary goal or focus was not accomplished because someone was standing on a misunderstanding as their reasons for why they didn't do what they were supposed to do. Let me explain. The Emperor asks, "How come you didn't get this done?" And the King of Swords reports, "They were there." The Emperor looks at the King of Swords and says, "They were there?" And the King of Swords answers, "Oh yes, they were right there. They watched, they saw, they witnessed, and yet they did nothing." The Emperor asks, "Why?" The King of Swords goes on. The story was portrayed and sounded like this, but actually, it was the mismanagement of another person's actions that actually created the storm. So, the first person did nothing and expected everyone behind them to try, which they did try, but it was too late at that point. The first hurdle had not even been crossed. You see, whoever the least skilled at handling a task was put in charge. They stood at the drawing board trying to solve the issue for barely enough time before the next disaster hit them. And at that point, they felt like they only had an option between one thing or another. Feeling trapped in a catch-22 situation and alone, they felt they were going to lose anyway for not being prepared enough, sustained enough, supported enough, or that the responsibility felt too great enough that they couldn't learn how or couldn't bend the knee to someone wiser and more experienced. And that's where they failed. One cannot take up an emperor's position without knowledge, and this is where this person went off course. Instead of picking up a phone and making a call or asking someone for directions or trying to have a mediator or a civil conversation, they felt their pride could remain intact to just let it be. Instead of seeing the overall achievement goal that is meant to cover everyone, they only thought of themselves. In other words, they were not able to take up the cause of the good it would do to form a team and work together. No one could remain objective. Everyone took things personally, but that's the positions on the board everyone took, didn't they? They all went back to their own turf, their own lives, and their own systems, feeling protected. So we have the least able or the least knowledgeable holding the bag. They froze and just sat on it, not moving a muscle, retelling the same story over and over again until the storyline became truth in their mind. Unfortunately, now the original problem is huge, big huge, and the emperor is being called in to remove the block. It's a hot mess. And there we were inside of a tarot spread storyline with the pentacles and the wands both in detriment when a Queen of Cups arrives. She is speaking of how to let something go so that healing may arrive. Her communication is speaking of looking into the mind and finding a different direction, perspective, or opinion on understanding how long to give something before needing to find another way. There is a Queen of Cups who is holding a new dream in her mind, and she is saying, the choice is already done and behind us. At best, all we can do now is move into the future, which brings hope and renewal for making better choices for a better outcome. She can sense that you are unwilling to let something emotionally go over the loss, but she is truly worried about you, Leo. Sometimes the best we get out of any situation is the lesson, but in this case, someone can see the overall goal instead of just you. That is respect, and I can see that with both the Queen of Wands and King of Wands upright and facing each other. Both are showing the world the first step is coming together for the greater goal. The King of Wands is in the challenge position, and he is a leader, yes, but he is a leader because people follow this person. They gather around this person and see the sun card that this person provides. Believe it or not, the kings in the tarot deck are faced with the responsibility of making the final choice, yet. But it is also the king's responsibility to clear the way for his or her people. And using the vision as the answer for why we all come together, the King of Wands is able to cut out interference for why we must work together and not apart. There is a high wall that must be either built or torn down, but no one can get over the wall alone. In the past, I have a Capricorn or Scorpio who chose that putting their foot down and making a decision to just block off the path to the wall was the way to handle the situation. It was done very firmly and very fast. I'm seeing that stubbornness was at the forefront of this original way of handling the issue. Again, no sharing or accepting of information, no sitting down and having a good talking and compromise. Maybe I'm saying it incorrectly. Maybe this person tried to no avail and so shut the door and walked away. I do know that stubbornness was there, though. Someone just wouldn't give ground. They did this so quickly and with finality. I think they trusted that that was the end of that challenge altogether. They assumed the event was over and everyone could go home. The end was absolutely the end. No what ifs about reversing the situation. What was done in finality. And I see that with what words this person used to halt any hope of forward progress. They built a wall that was so high that help would never arrive from one side to the other ever again. They began to fill themselves with paranoia. For in building a wall so high they couldn't see over, this person started considering whether or not their world really was safe. Later, when people came in after a time to see if cooperation or working together could help resolve the situation and began talking, the one who built the wall stayed silent for their part in helping to shut down the situation for good. Eavesdropping and listening to the conversations that took place, the wall builder would scoff internally and just wait until they gave up trying. I have the Two of Cups that finally comes out, and one of these people begins digging for more information and sharing it during the round table. It's almost as if all three of these people are on the same text thread or something. The original wall builder is shrugging and saying, I don't know why they included me. I already know how this story ended. They don't have to share stuff. I know why I closed up. Everyone else can just kiss off. I don't need to be involved in whatever they are trying to achieve. And it's true, they don't. There's complete silence from beyond the other wall. What their silence is letting on is that he or she didn't really tell the honest part of the story. They were the ones that shut and locked the door in the first place. Now, the whole world is coming in to bust that door down and take over. Or at least that's the flying monkeys part of this spread. The situation is spreading like a bug. Wall or no wall, this situation is spreading, and someone needs to get control of it now. I'm going to end this reading with that statement and this last part. Without major action right now, and done together, what is coming for one will be coming for all. Do not delay, my friends. Heal what parts can be healed now. Remove the thorn now before infection sets in. It is a lot like an Avenger jumping in to catch a runaway train, yes, but if we don't step outside of our own borders of comfort or tragedy, whatever setup you have now can easily be taken away. Until next time.